Is the third debate. The houses on your right will ban the exploitation of animals. Sara, from Romania, will underline their living status and psychological well-being. Haley, from Turkey, will signal unethical practices. And Daniel, from Slovakia, will deal with hunting. First will be debated by Bronislava from Slovakia, Mihailita from Romania, and Lucia from Spain, respectively. The judge will be Eva from Bulgaria.
Hello, my name is Sarah. Today we are here to debate on animal exploitation, one of the most aggravating issues in the world. Before presenting our arguments, allow me firstly to define the resolution we are debating today. Thus, animal exploitation is the intentional infliction by humans of suffering or harm upon any non-human animal, regardless of whether the act is against the law. More narrowly, it can be the causing of harm or suffering for specific gain, such as killing animals for food or for their fur. First of all, I would like to explain that my point refers to all the circumstances affecting the way in which exploited animals live with regard to their physical and psychological well-being. Nowadays, more than ever, non-human animals are exploited in many ways which lead to abuse and harm. The type of animal exploitation that directly harms the most animals is their use for food. Many people never stop to think about this and just take it for granted that using animals for food is fine and that animals aren't harmed much by it. The reality, though, is that animals are harmed very much not only by being deprived of their lives, but also by other harms that come from factory farming. The lives of chickens and hens, for example, are short and full of suffering. The vast majority raised for their flesh or eggs live crammed together in tiny spaces. They only see sunlight when they are taken to a slaughterhouse. During their entire lives, they live under artificial light, which is more economically profitable but also alters the hens and chickens' biological cycles. It generates tremendous stress, which leads to behaviors such as pulling one another's feathers out and cannibalism. The harms animals suffer when they are sent to be killed starts before they reach the slaughterhouse during their transport. They are confined in extremely uncomfortable spaces where they suffer due to weather conditions, tiredness, thirst, and hunger. They also endure fears and terrible anxiety. All this in addition to the obvious fact that they are deprived of their lives. Animals all around the world suffer terribly in circuses and other shows using animals. They are forced to live in situations that are often similar to those in factory farms, and they are continuously subjected to pain, terrible fear, and distress, so they will perform in circus acts. Animals used in circuses spend almost their entire lives in cramped traveling crates, barns, or trucks in which they lack room to move freely. They are let out just to be tortured, so they perform certain tricks that are often physically uncomfortable and psychological, distressing, as well as dangerous. Over time, the animals can damage their muscles, joints, or bones. For instance, elephants are often made to stand on their hind legs or even balance on one leg, and this can cause hernias for such heavy animals. In addition to the physical pain which results from these forms of torture, we must add psychological distress. In fact, due to anxiety and fear caused by tortures, exploited animals commonly suffer from psychological problems which can lead to very serious mental conditions. As a result, the animals display stereotyped behaviors such as repeatedly moving back and forth or from side to side. Others hit their heads, bite the bars of their cages, or self-mutilate. Unfortunately, these are not the only circumstances which affect the way in which exploited animals live. Hunting, sport fishing, animal testing, clothing industry could be added to those already mentioned. Regardless of their capabilities, we consider that no living being deserves to be abused. All of us believe that it's wrong to torture infant and disabled human beings who don't have the same abilities as adults. In the same way, we must admit that all creatures deserve liberty and respect, not because they share the characteristics we admire in ourselves, but because they are living beings. We share the same evolutionary origins, We inhabit the same earth, and we are ruled by the same laws of nature. We are all the same. Animals are not ours to eat, wear, experiment on, use for entertainment, or abuse in any other way. As you could see, animal exploitation results in thousands of victims every year, and this is why we strongly condemn it and consider that there are no consistent arguments to justify the abuse. Thank you for your attention.
Good afternoon. My name is Bronislava Pokorna and I'm representing Gymnasium Alejova in Košice, Slovakia. My partners, Mihaita Beis from Romania and Lucia Calderon Garcia from Spain, strongly affirm the resolution which states that exploitation of animals should be allowed. I, as the first speaker, will speak about the issue in general and point out the difference between the rights of humans and animals as living beings. Our second speaker, Mihaita, will elaborate on the fact that testing on animals brings about important scientific breakthroughs. And finally, our third speaker, Lucia, will talk about the importance of animals for hunting. So, in the recent decades, a growing number of people feels that animals should not be exploited by people, and they should have the same rights as humans. While others argue that it's wait. That they should have the same rights. They argue that humans must employ people to satisfy their varying needs, including uses for food and research. Morally, most people may agree with the simplicity of the motion that the exploitation of animals should be condemned. However, very few people would actually practice a lifestyle that to ensure not contract that belief. If any animal's life is equal to human, then you have a moral obligation to ensure you never assert your importance over their own. Did you check to make sure the city, the state, the neighborhood you live in didn't displace or kill thousands of animals while being created? If not, then you don't live by a standard of equality with any animal other than your own species. And do you know that we can find bones in jelly candies? And do you mind? Do you? Everyone seems to be against the exploitation of animals, but no one seems to realize how many animals products they use or consume in their everyday lives. Before we start, I must clarify a few things. We are not proponents of harming any animals without a meritable, social acceptable reason. As such, we will not be advocating those practices in any way. We will, however, show that consuming and testing on animals for one's own benefit can be perfectly moral, well in line with the laws of nature. We believe it's acceptable for several reasons. Firstly, legally, an animal's life is not important as a human. We think that humans are the most important beings on the planet, and everything must be done to ensure human survival. If this means experimenting on animals, so we can fight and find cures for diseases, and this takes priority of animal suffering. Furthermore, it's believed by some that animals do not feel pain or loss as humans do. So, if we have to kill some animal for food or other uses, then it's morally acceptable. Historically, animals be considered to have interest at all, or their interests have not been considered equal to human interest. In his book, Interest and Rights, Frey, the author, is saying that animals don't have interest because they don't have experience, wants, desires, expectations, or remembrances. Rights don't apply to animals because rights are essentially humans, and that's the point commonly made by those who oppose the animal rights movement. And another and last important argument condoming testing on animals is biomedical research. Animals are used in biomedical research, some to test cosmetics or household cleaning products, and some are used in a class dissection to teach teenagers the anatomy of frogs, or to have a subject for PhD dissertation. Yes, all this is true, but none of us would want that these products have been tested on us and our being around. Few people today would condone experimenting on human beings in harmful way. In fact, indicative of this, such research is strongly restricted by law, but it isn't just prohibited outright. When experimentation on humans is permitted, it is always in the context of the individuals involved consenting to it. But these people are only exception. So, in the words of Darwin's theory, stronger survives. I know it's cruel, but necessary. Doctors are looking for new drugs which are needed, and new diseases are threat. So we must let the medicine advance if we want the best for our families, and we have to sacrifice something. So that's all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Animal rights are the rights of animals to be protected from the human use and abuse, and can take moral, legal, and practical forms. Hi everyone. I'm Helen, and I am the second speaker of our group. And my argument is on ethical practice on animals. Every year, more than 1 million animals use biomedical experimentation, scientification, and cosmetic testing. This includes dogs, cats, rabbits, pigs, monkeys, sheep, and more. Researching and testing animals are subjected to experiments that can include everything from testing new drugs to infectious disease, poison or toxic testing, maiming, blinding, and other painful procedures. In my opinion, testing animals are always unacceptable because it causes suffering to animals, and I think this is the most important part. The benefits of human beings are not proven, and every 100 drugs that pass animal testing fail in humans. And I want to ask you this question: is that true? The killing living creature while trying to save other? They do have feelings, they do feel sadness, happiness, but unfortunately suffer too. And animal experimentation is not necessary, it's expensive, it's archaic, and I think animal experiments is extremely risky, therefore, because animals have different genes, protein, metabolic pathway from that of humans. Maybe we could say this testing are necessary for disease in all times, but we are in the 21st century and we have high technology. And we can use new methods instead of animal testing. Human patient simulators, in vitro test methods, and models based on human cell and tissue cultures, computer modeling, stem cell, and genetic testing methods. And animal rights groups have expressed concern about the harm, pain, and death that such experiments can cause for animals. They argue that many of the tests are unnecessary results applied to humans. Most of these believe that animal testing is just like racism and sexism. In conclusion, animal testing should be not allowed as it causes suffering to subjects. Its benefits to humans have not been proven, and most benefits derived from the experiments will be produced by other means. Animals have emotions, and animals are like us, and they don't deserve that. That's all.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mihail, and our next point in support of the resolution refers to the scientific breakthrough. Before sharing with you our second argument, I would firstly like to respond to the opposition's case. Helen has told us about unethical practices and has tried to explain that it is not moral to kill a living creature while trying to save another. But let me ask you a question too. If you had to choose just one creature which would live, a mouse or a little girl who had a terrible disease, which would you choose? Well, I think we all agree that trying to prevent the most obvious cases of unnecessary suffering or torture of animals is reasonable. But you should also note that using animals in research and experimentation is essential to the development of new and more effective methods for diagnosing and treating diseases that affect both humans and animals. Moreover, in our opinion, the information Helen has shared with us is not updated, as starting from the 19th century, reform began arguing the more human treatment of animals and founding groups like the American Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals to improve the condition of all animal species. Animal research, for example, is highly regulated, with laws in place to protect animals from mistreatment. In addition to local and state laws and guidelines, animal research has been regulated by the Federal Animal Welfare Act since 1966, as well as stipulating minimum housing standards, enclosure size, temperature, access to clean food and water, and others. Research animals are cared for by veterinarians, husbandry specialists, and animal health technicians to ensure their well-being and more accurate findings. As I was saying, my point referred to the scientific breakthrough, that is to the major progress that science has made to animal testing. In this respect, in support of my argumentation, it is important to note that animal experiments are absolutely essential in making major medical advances. This is because there is no adequate alternative to testing on a living whole-body system. Living systems are extremely complex, and animals are appropriate research subjects because they are similar to human beings in many ways. They are susceptible to many of the same conditions and illnesses, including heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. Animal testing has contributed to many life-saving cures and treatments. The California Biomedical Research Association states that nearly every medical breakthrough in the last 100 years has resulted directly from research using animals. Experiments in which dogs had their pancreases removed led directly to the discovery of insulin, critical to saving the lives of diabetics. The polio vaccine tested on animals reduced the global occurrence of the disease from 250,000 cases in 1988 to 223 cases in 2012. Animal research has also contributed to major advances in understanding and treating conditions such as breast cancer, brain injury, childhood leukemia, cystic fibrosis, malaria, multiple sclerosis, tuberculosis, and many others. Chris Avey, director of the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center Animal Research Facility, states that, and I quote, "We wouldn't have a vaccine for hepatitis B without chimpanzee," and says that the use of the chimps is our best hope for finding a vaccine for hepatitis C, a disease that killed 15,000 Americans annually. Moreover, not only humans, but animals themselves benefit from testing results. If vaccines were not tested on animals, millions of animals would have died from rabies, distemper, feline leukemia, infection of hepatitis virus, tetanus, anthrax, and canine parvovirus. Animal testing has also been instrumental in saving endangered species from extinction, including the black-footed ferret, the California condor, and the tamaris of Brazil. The vast majority of biologists and several of the largest biomedical and health organizations in the United States approve of animal testing. The 2011 poll of nearly 1,000 biomedical scientists conducted by the science journal Nature found that more than 90% agreed that the use of animal in research is essential. The American Cancer Society, the National Association for Biomedical Research, the American Heart Association, the Society of Toxicology, and the American Veterinary Medical Association all advocate the use of animals in scientific research. In conclusion, allow me to remind you that research on living animals has been practiced since at least 500 BC, and it has enabled the development of many life-saving treatments for both humans and animals ever since. Thus, it may be considered a necessary evil as it has given us huge medical advances that we wouldn't have never came upon without it. In this respect, former UK Home Office Minister John Rain claimed that, and I quote, animal research and testing has played a part in almost every medical breakthrough of the last century. It has saved hundreds of millions of lives worldwide. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Daniela Matova and I am representing Gymnasium Alejova in Košice, Slovakia. Throughout history, people have been raising wild animals to provide their families with food, clothing, shelter, and other essential reasons such as self-protection. In these modern times, society's hunting needs for survival have lessened because of the development of agriculture, animal husbandry, and manufacturing of processed food. The overall sport of hunting, however, has lingered on because of the challenge and the enjoyment of outdoor activity. All of you have seen on TV or on social media documentaries or just private videos with rich Westerners in Russian Siberia or Africa bragging with their kills. A tiger or an elephant, and this is something that should be abolished. In the ancient world of Europe, nobility enjoyed hunting as an exciting sport and pastime. Then were times in history when hunting became a very profitable activity and hunters began to kill animals not just for their profit or not just for their basic need and sport, but also for profit. They hunted animals for ivory, fur, skin, claws, and in order to trade them to make luxurious boots, coats, or belts, and to decorate their houses. This is when revolution began to come into effect because of overabundance of killing. Poachers are people who murder animals not just for their basic needs, but for profit. And they do not respect the environment. They do not respect wildlife inhabitants. In the past, some species rapidly disappeared, and the sad thing is that people still buy these objects and they don't care how many innocent animals were killed for this purpose. Firstly, hunting causes pain and suffering. This violent form of entertainment rips families apart and leaves animals orphaned or badly injured when hunters miss their targets. Quick kills are rare, and many animals endure prolonged and painful death when they are shot by hunters, but they are not killed. A study of 80 radio-colored white-tailed deer found that of 22 deer who had been shot with traditional archery equipment, 11 were wounded but not recovered by hunters. A study also showed that 20% of foxes who are wounded by hunters are shot again. A British study of deer hunting found that 11% of deer killed by hunters die only after being shot 2 or more times, and they suffer for more than 15 minutes before they die. And I must react to a speech of Bronislava because she said something about Charles Darwin's theory. In school, you might have learned about Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection, which explained that the sickest and weakest animals are most likely to be killed by natural predators, leaving the strongest animal to survive and pass their genes on. Hunters, however, disrupt this nature balance because they prefer to kill largest and strongest animals. Even if overpopulation happened naturally to a group of animals, nature would work to regulate population. Starvation and disease are tragic, but they are nature's way of ensuring that the healthy, strong animals survive. Let's face it, very often animals are hunted and killed for the sole purpose of providing hunters with a trophy. Killing hunts are big business, but 40% of hunters also kill and injure millions of animals on public land every year. And did you know that to attract more hunters and their money, federal and state agencies actively recruit children because they know that most people will never take up hunting if they aren't exposed to it early in life. Another point is that hunting accidents sometimes injure or kill cats, horses, dogs, hikers, or another hunters. According to the National Shooting Sport Foundation, thousands of human injuries are attributed to hunting every year. A very important argument against hunting is the fact that violence against animals can lead to violence against humans. In conclusion, hunting animals for a reason like fashion, sport, decoration, or any selfish reason should be banned in every place in the world. Like us humans, animals deserve to have a quiet life. Also, hunting of wild animals is the reason why there is so many endangered animals. Killing animals for illegitimate needs is a cruel and terrible crime. Governments should create laws prohibit indiscriminate hunting because if this continues, there will be very few alive species of animals in a few years. All things taken into considerations, hunters have a choice. With all the delicious pastas, fruits, vegetables, and grains that are cheaply available everywhere, there is no reason to kill animals to survive. Thank you for your attention.
Hello, my name is Lucia. I am going to talk about animal hunting. Hunting is safe, effective, and necessary. It's an effective way to eliminate predators because keep the animal's population in check. Hunting is inexpensive because hunters kill the animal for free. The injury rate for hunting is lower than of some other forms of physical activities. For example, football and cycling. Hunting an animal for food cannot be worse than killing a cow or a chicken. Another reason why I agree for hunting. Also, it is beneficial to the ecosystem. Finally, I would like to say that if hunting were to become illegal for the animal population, will skyrocket out of control and the future they will disappear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bravo, bravo. Non so bravo. So, the judge.
Hello.
Yeah. It's open. Speak.
to all the debaters. So both teams presented strong arguments and good statements. Thank you. You formed a great debate. First and foremost, I'd like to say that I am happy to be a part of this activity, to experience the role of a judge, and to hear your opinions. We can all agree that animal exploitation is a very controversial subject, a huge problem, which is a common worry all around the world. However, how and where do all of the atrocities to animals happen? If anyone tries to answer this question seriously, they will be met with at least a handful of examples of unethical behavior hailing from every country across the globe. One can plainly see that no one culture is at fault for the entirety of harm, even if we are led to believe that the worst atrocities happen somewhere else. There are a couple of practices, which you all mentioned, that unfortunately have developed to the point that would hardly be eliminated, such as factory farming, animal testing, hunting, and so on.